Back in the Shir David Beis Midrash, and this time we're in person with our holy brother. Always better than on the phone. My son is actually back to work. Thank God. He had issues with his back, and he's had a full shleima. But the good news is he got his gun license.
Hey.
So that was something we're all davening for. And he'll be as a Gibor Yisrael, he'll be able to be another shliach for us to have a bit more shmirah, and it gives him confidence to do his holy role in the world. And that's part of the relationship flow, is getting ourselves with all the voices that are going on and inside and outside of us that are trying to take away our simcha and our confidence, God forbid, and to both of those things, and also to make division. Make people. One of the things I'm always trying to do is collaborate. I did like a recent little clip of a guy, Michael Zubavo, and if you heard of him, he's put stuff around him up at Chemish, those places. I even got from my family who lived there. They posted it in our family group. But the point is not the video. The point is the message in the video is that about collaboration and working very hard to keep people working together. And in the business world, I'm sure you see sometimes that can be challenging. Yeah, meaning you have Baruch Hashem, you have a divide somewhat because of different agendas of the different parties or different organizations have different goals. So there is an aspect of where everyone needs to be real and protect and build their own little Mostas or big Mostas or organization, whatever it is, projects. But I feel that really for us to go the next shlav and as a people, especially in Eretz Yisrael, we need to be more collaborative. We need to undo that sort of hustle, over hustle, like where there's too much need to sort of survive. Instead, we should be thrive. We should be able to thrive. So not just survive, but thrive. And thriving means that we're together. Because once you join, as Stephen Covey brings down, this idea of synergization, and this is a big point in relationships. Once you synergize with someone else, you join with someone else, 2 + 2 = 4. But really, in synergization, it actually means 10, 100, 1,000. It multiplies, like 10x, like they talk about in all the seminars. It actually is a multiplier. By joining with other people, that's way more than just a simple math. It becomes a complete different reality when you join with people. We had for Bregan last night, the feeling and energy felt like thousands of people, because it was such, each soul there anyway has a big sphere of influence and they're all special people, but you feel it grow. And that's the concept of relationship, of a marriage, is where you literally 2 people come and suddenly you end up with a whole big family. You can have 3, 4, 5, all the way till 10 and grow, and then they have children and their children, and it becomes a nation. Like what happened to Am Yisrael and Mitzrayim, it became a nation, and we only came there 70, and we came out millions. And this is the concept there. Hashem wants Puravu, He wants us to grow, He wants us to multiply, He wants us to expand, and it is one of the ways the Mashiach comes. All the neshamas are coming down and joining together, and that's through Achdus and through Zivug and all these holy things. This is what brings the Mashiach's matzav closer. And that's how we can, instead of just surviving, we're thriving. And that's really how Am Yisrael should always go the higher path, the bigger path, the greater path. And obviously means taking care of what's in front of you also. So that's a little bit of important point, I feel that was brought up in that video. That organizations will grow much more if they're able to have the confidence to work with other organizations or even help other organizations who are struggling initially. Startups should be getting help from established companies. If they really have Emuna and B'tachin, you should never feel that someone's taken away from you, because everything's from Hashem. So that's important. So one of the things that we learn in Halacha in the previous section, we're just going to fly through these 5 points. Rising with Zrizis, we learn about the importance of getting up early. Remember that? So that means like a Kohen being Zrizenheim, like getting up with fire to the base of Migdash. So too every Jew has this chiyuv, this deraisa of davening, of especially Krishma, Bezmana. And there's a certain time frame, especially a man, where we have time-bound mitzvahs. We can't just sleep as much as we want. There's a time for davening, there's a time for Vodas Hashem, there's a time for Krishma, there's manim. And we have to be zarez ourselves, awaken ourselves, have electricity. I forget the exact translation, but the point is that we have to be aroused and have energy and And the word it uses here is rizis. It doesn't even try to translate it. So lust for money. Lusting for money is the other thing we're handling. And that's, once again, when I was talking about the businesses and all this stuff, that's the point. If we're not lusting for money and we're doing it L'Shem Shemayim, our business, then we'll be open to collaborate and help other organizations. But it's only about money, so then L'Shem Shemayim, what it creates, kind of society. Everyone's just cheating each other, God forbid. We don't want that society. That's not Am Yisrael. That's not Eretz Yisrael. Breaking desires. We have to break the desires. Yeah, you can't in your office or in your home always be thinking about what pleasure can I get right now. You have to think about what pleasure can I give. How can I samech someone else? How can I service someone else? How can I give to someone else? Closer to Torah. We have to try to become more close to Torah. To realize that Hashem's hashgacha, Hashem is the one who's running everything. You know, I've been talking the last class about I got scammed last week. And I'm trying to sort it out, but it's looking less and less likely. And Baruch Hashem, it's one of the first times it ever happened to me online. I've always been very careful. I did have a tremendous toothache at the time, and I probably should have waited because I had less yeshiva das. Mind wasn't working so well when I did the online forms. I would have been more aware of what was going on. But that was like my wife said, I should only do things with more yeshiva das, and she's right. But the closer to Torah is, you realize there's hashgacha. And Hashem's teaching is something each time. Sometimes it's worth paying something to learn a lesson, even if it's, God forbid, for not good things. Because you learn a lesson, and learning a lesson is also Hashgachas Hashem. It's also how the Torah teaches you through different ways. Torah teaches you through opening up a sefer. The Torah teaches you through struggles, through mistakes, through difficulties. We always daven for the Torah to teach us. Rather learn it than have to go through the struggle, the opposite. We ask Hashem, if you're going to help us grow through Torah and mitzvahs, not through pain in this world. Manifesting das, when you break your sleep and you get a rise at midnight, you get up and you're able to do chatzos. We were talking about it last night. Chatzos is usually the darkest time, but it's also the time of transformation from darkness to light. It's a time of 8 spots on the wheel, and there's an opportunity to get this concept called das. This is internalized knowledge and awareness that Hashem immanence fills all creation, as we mentioned before, and that we said is accomplished by a pigeon tosadik. So that was really a nice short summary of the previous, everything we've learned till now. Now we're going to jump into the next halacha, and this lashon he uses in the translation here of internalized knowledge and awareness of Hashem. This is what we're going to go really clarify through das and through kavana, through intention. And we'll be learning about that in Tanya Shir as well, the importance of kavana and intentions. Everything always aligns, usually. And also the Parshas Bo. So we know that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, and we know that was the beginning of our people, began with Zrizas. We had to go with Zrizas. We had to break our taiva from the taivas of Mitzrayim for Egypt, get rid of the watermelons and the lifestyle over there. And we had to leave Egypt, to leave Mitzrayim, the Meitzarim, the place of restrictions and restraints. Yeah, we had to do it. Dafka Chatzos. And Chatzos Halayla, like we sing on El Seder, and Chatzos Halayla, it's all happening. Everything's connected in, and Am Yisrael's nationhood is born through Zrizas. It's through energy. It's through breaking sleep, going to serve Hashem. That's what we're here for. So the beginning halacha of Shulchan Aruch, and it brings it again in halacha Gimel, is Gaba K'ari La'ama Baboker Shehu Ma'oira Shachar. We're here to wake up the morning, and I do believe that Tanya says. And I believe in this, it's a very strong thing. The whole Zeicher Tzitz Mitzrayim, the whole Parshas Bo, is totally the same Torah as waking up in the morning and misgaber on your Yitzhar. It's the same Nakuda, because when you misgaber on your sleep, you misgaber on Mitzrayim, you misgaber in its place. Sleep is like this restricted state. You can't really do much physically. Fine, especially you're up in Shemaim, in Heikel, learning holy things, and you're on the Shama level, but on your Guf level, which is the Tachlis, to bring the Ruchnis into the Guf, into the Gashmis, you're stuck, you're lying in bed, you can't do anything. Yeah. So that place of restraint is like Mitzrayim, it's Mitzarim, it's a place of restraint. We have to break that, and that's one of the things we say in Hallel. Part of Hallel is breaking through the whole thing of Hallel, with going through the Yam and all the different beautiful psukim about going out of min meitza karasi kai, call out to you from the restraints. Hallel's filled with this graduation of waking up and over the shacha. And he says the next part of the pasuk, and is based on lesson v'yeshav elikim. It's a Torah in the Likutei Moharan Samech base, and we're going to talk about there in that Torah based, and we're going to bring it to Likutei Halachos, because remember Rabbi Nachman is the Rebbe, Rabbi Nachman Befeger Simchas Chusanenu, and the Talmud in the Likutei Halachos, Halacha Gimel, of the beginning of the whole Sefer Likutei Halachos, is the Talmud, is the student bringing the Torahs of Rabbeinu Nachman. Rabbi Nosson is bringing it alive in halacha, and that's why he's bringing this Torah. And this Torah is helping strengthen our Emuna, and everyone needs to strengthen our Emuna in this generation. It's a musadik b'Emunas v'yichya. We say the main mitzvah is Emuna before Mashiach comes. That's why all his books are about Emuna. And Emuna is internalized knowledge, and one of the ways you experience internalized knowledge of Hashem is through talking to Him, having a relationship with Him. It should be real by you. He's going to say now, clarified the Rabbi's lesson, is distinction exists between two sorts of questions raised in challenging Emuna. So this is a famous concept that there's a kasha, that we a type of question, a solution a person can easily comprehend, because it says by Chazal, know what to answer. There's this concept in Big Alvis, it's very important. And I had a Rebbe who used to say this very strong. His name, I brought him up in a shiur recently, Rabbi Yeshai Jermain. He used to teach us, and we used to learn just Mishnayos and a bit of Gemara together. He used to teach us and say, I know what to answer a heretic. I know what to answer. Send me any person, any atheist, I'll be able to argue with him, I'll be able to teach him, I'll be able to take him out of this apikosis. And he said it with such a confidence, because he said one of the reasons why he feels so confident, because he had the schus, even though he was a brisker and he was by Rav David Soloveitchik and a whole nother derech of limit, he was also a tzaddik helping at Risbochim. But now that he worked at Keshe, remember that yeshiva? Keshe? So yeshiva, especially yeshiva, and he worked also in Osamech, but which is where I was. But he said as well as learning in brisk, but he said that he learned by Rav Yol. Rav Yol was the big Chose from the Babich Rebbe, Rav Yol Khan. And he sat by his shiurim in Lakewood for years and years in Tanya, and that gave him the yesodis to be able to fight with any heretic, to deal with them. And he felt that, and he was giving it over to us, that we have to be strong, to know what to answer a heretic. That's what it's saying in this, in Chazal. Know what to answer. Ki emes ma she yagbil Hashem yisbrach v'seicha enoshi yochel lahavin. For in truth, concerning that which Hashem delineates is comprehensible to the human mind, hu mitzvah Gedale l'chaded haseikul lahavin adava al boro. It's a great mitzvah to hone the intellect and equip to comprehend this matter clearly. By the way, we say this concept of chaded in beficha, the Torah should be sharp in your mouth. V'shinamtam levenecha. When you teach your children Torah, it comes from the fact that chaded in beficha, that you sharpen the Torah in your head and your heart, so that when you're overflowing. And we just had a meeting today with a Rebbe from one of my sons, and the whole thing was basically just learning how to communicate better with my son. And that he thank God has an amazing relationship with my son. And we came out in the conversation, a lot of it's private, but the main nekuda, the chizuk, is that he be'emes makayim when it says that a Rav loves his Talmud from anyone. Tremendous ahava is generated, and not any, God forbid, any other negative kind of love, and a pure love of just wanting his Talmidim, because V'shinamtam v'necha says your children also connected to your students as well. But the idea, the reason that the way you can give over is because it's clear by you. Chadin means sharp, clear. And you have to be able to have the Torah clear by you, and that's why it's so important to constantly hone our intellect, sharpen it, clarify the Torah more and more, because there's going to be situations going to come up where people are going to, my kids ask me questions, they're not always so easy. You're going to have to be in the right headspace and have the focus. You can't just be falling asleep at the table Shabbos night. There's real stuff going on in life, and your kids need you, They need someone to talk to, can lead them, and to be that presence. Your wife also, and this idea of a masculine force, this mashpia, this energy we've been talking about a lot. You have to be in that home state, and you have to know sometimes they're going to hear things that can be also borderline, because of stuff they picked up from the street, from the online apps, or even, God forbid, from a friend, or even God forbid, a rabbi who's a bit like, dodgy or whatever. You're going to have to help them with those kind of questions that they're going to have. It's going to come up. And that means you have to be in a state where Gedale Fenster always talking about, and please God, we'll be having him, in Tel Aviv, in Yerushalayim, and 2 locations, and then here in Shut David, right above where we're sitting now. He'll be coming here. One of the things that I get a lot of chizuk from, he's always on his game. You have to be ready, focused, ready for action. That's Aved Hashem is someone who's constantly, all the time, ready for the next shlab, the next stage, the next. You can't go off the previous stories. You can't. It's like when I did a bunch of good events in the music business for Nissim and for other people. One of the guys there once said to me, "The show must go on." So basically, you feel good for a minute, but now you got to get your next story. It's always the next event. Even though we do have to internalize, thank Hashem for the good that He's given us till now, but that's also important. But we have to always be on our game, because you see how fast life is moving, and like even right now, like with everything going on in Eretz Yisrael, you never know what's going to happen. We hope Gedale is coming, because with Iran, who knows? With Trump, everything's unpredictable. So with life, and before Mashiach comes, Mashiach's coming Hesekadas, we're in a state where we don't know when it's going to be exactly. And the Yishmaelim are all about that. The Arabs are all about that. So they're the perfect exile before Mashiach comes, because everything's just, out of nowhere. They're not orderly like the previous goddess of Esav and the Germans and all these other terrible empires we have to deal with. They were organized. Things were set up. This is like, we don't know like we see with terrorism, we don't know anything what's coming. God forbid. So we ask Hashem, obviously it should be for good. But so not knowing what to answer a heretic, we don't know when we're going to come across that. We have to know it's going to come. It's going to come either through our children, through the online world. It's going to come into our life. We're sitting you're at a business meeting, a conference, someone's going to say something that's off. You're going to have to know how to answer it. And it's not just for them, it's also for yourself. There's also the sort of question that is impossible for human intellect to fathom. Only in the future to come will the answer be revealed. Remember, Rabbi Nachman was someone who would go deal with these kind of people. He himself would go out, I'm not saying we should, but he'd go play chess with the real maskilim, the beginning, of all that whole movement. He was busy dealing with those souls and answering them and helping them. So he had no problem dealing with the so-called non-believers. So sometimes we're going to have to wait till the future when the answers will be revealed. We don't have answers to everything. That's also important. One of the big mashkichim, Moshe Wolfson, who, as you say, Bleib B'Kasha, learns it out, like Dalit Kashis on Leil Seder. We don't answer them all completely. Levi Yitzbeditchev wasn't satisfied with the answers of this Leil Seder. There's much more. You're asking Hashem, I have many more kashas than just those 4 questions on you, Hashem. The Holocaust, v'chulu. There's a lot of things. We have a lot of questions. You have questions, I have questions, everyone has questions. You can live with that. That's with Bleib B'Kasha. You can live with kashas. It's okay to have questions. And a Bal Emuna goes vital with the questions. And they'll come, there will be an answer in the future. As Adamayin Behem. It's forbidden for a person to explore questions of this sort. Now he's talking about certain kinds of things that are like chakiras, overly thinking, philosophy kind of stuff. That's not Rabbi Nachman's not into that. Anyone who relies on intellect delves in such questions, as is written, whoever goes to her will not return. So this idea of goes to her, we're not to her. Who's this her? We're not going to go too much more, but this is important. This is like the mistress, like the woman, what's the word? Someone who's trying to get you involved with things and are not a lady who's not enticements. You're trying to entice you. Like the whole online world with the whole feminine energy trying to entice men. Instead of them becoming vessels for the holiness and receiving, it's all about how they can make money out of you and entice you to their thing, and it's not real. So that is enticing. So too, when we got busy with Emuna, that's not Emuna, with the opposite Emuna, with thoughts that are not Emuna, that are the opposite of true belief, and we're busy with philosophy and overly questioning things that aren't for us to understand, then it's like we're almost like cheating. We're like being enticed, and it can pull you in, just like a enticing woman can pull you into a wrong kind of relationship. So these are things that Rabbi Nachman was very careful to warn us about, especially before Mashiach comes. You see how in touch he was with what the kind of realities would be going through, all the way till Mashiach comes. Regarding questions of this sort, forbidden for one to rely on his intellect, he must stand in Emuna. That's where you head towards. Head towards Emuna. Emuna is the answer. Emuna is the quest. We have to constantly request Emuna. We have to go after Emuna. We have to Amud, stand al Emuna, Mida Achas, everything standing off Emuna. Tzaddik v'Emunuscha Yichye. We have to be someone who's very aligned with what Emuna is about, because it's intrinsic, deep knowledge of Hashem. We're experiencing godliness. It's a shgacha. And the more we do that, we say that scam that happened to me, that was, I have Emuna. Fine, I'm going to learn from it, and blah, 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 but I'm not going to say why, all this stuff. Don't need that. Yeah, and same with everything that happened the last years with the war, and some of the friends of my sons that were killed, and there's no point going into the why game. Yeah, we have to have Emuna, and we know that we're going to do for their soul. We dedicate our learning to Meir Shimon ben Gavriel, and we dedicate our learning to Issa Baruch ben Yehuda Eliezer, and all these souls. He was actually an older person, just passed away, but his son served, and my son. All these souls, we have to have in mind that they're with us. They didn't just disappear. The Zohar says they're all with us. The souls carry on with us. Their bodies aren't here now, but they're in the ground, but their souls are still with us, still Melis Yosha. They're still connected to us, and we're having them in mind. They're having us in mind. V'afilo elo kusha sheish aleim tshuva lepamim nistamu shvili aseku eni Gedale Hashem. And even regarding those questions that do have an answer, sometimes happens the path of the person who becomes blocked. He doesn't know how to respond to the question. And let's count his heresy. He's going to end up, God forbid, in heresy. Nizraka apikosis is the idea that he gets like nizraka is like injected heresy in him. And that's what, remember the snake, when it came to the original Nachash Kodmoni, when it came to Chava, injected apikosis in her. It injected kafir, it injected inside of her a false kind of relationship with Hashem. This is called the Zahama, of the Nachash, this like pollution. And that went to Adam, and that all of humanity has it. There was a time where it was removed, when we had Har Sinai, Am Yisrael had it removed. So we've tasted what it's like not to have it. And when we do certain important mitzvahs and avoda, we have moments of freedom from that a little bit. Obviously, when Mashiach comes, it's going to be removed again. But it's like this injection of apikosis. We don't want to have that inside of us. So we don't want to be busy with that. And even regarding those questions, do not have an answer. And the path is a person who become blocked, and he doesn't know how to respond to the question. He gets this injected into him. I just read it again because it's important. He says, for each person, according to his spiritual level, can understand this sort of heresy to the greater or lesser degree, providing he looks within. It's all about that intrinsic Emuna. If you're in a panemius state, then you're going to be allergic to this kind of, you understand, you have to develop. This is why it's not enough to put filters on your phone and try block it off like it doesn't exist. The real avoda is in your heart. Your heart's alive with Emuna. Yeah, you're with Hashem. So when you're with Hashem, you're automatically going to reject this kind of stuff. Yeah, this idea of mochin dekatness, a person can get into small-mindedness. He should rely on his Emuna. So when you're in a time of challenge and you're not feeling great consciousness, you know in your heart you have this Emuna, this intrinsic Emuna that's inside of you, that's so deep and so profound, and it gives you the ability to overcome every test, even when you're in a weaker state. And that Emuna is the key to go through those dark times. And we have numerous stories of people going through darkness, like all the hostages. I've been reading Midnightrabbi recently. You read Midnightrabbi and you see, and all from all of them, because he met a lot of them, yeah? Maybe not every hostage, but he met a lot of the famous ones, Shem Tov, and he was around all these hostages, and he was able to see by them, like they were saying Shila Malas as they were coming out, the famous one with Shem Tov and the other, and Eli Cohen, and they were saying Shila Malas, they were saying tefillahs when they were coming out, and they were davening there the whole time. There was a Emuna going on, even the ones who weren't so into Yiddishkeit, but there was a constant feeling of Emuna that they drew into, the focusing on the good that happened to them that day, story after story after story, and that's functioning a level of Emuna. And then what happens, suddenly Hashem unblocks the path, and this is what we're all praying for, and then you get to Mokum Degadlis. But you get this expanded consciousness, and this will end with this. And that is the mitzvah to him to explore the questions, to seek to answer them. Then you can start dealing with the questions. So there are going to be times your mind's going to expand, you're going to have ability, like the rabbi said to me, I know what to answer in apikosis, because he was in a state of Mokum Degadlis, where his consciousness is alive. But when we're being challenged, and we're now in a smaller state, now's not the time to deal with apikosis, just go straight to the Emuna. I have a Emuna, that's it. I'm busy. Focus in on a Emuna. That's the avoda now. And that Emuna is going to manifest through talking to Hashem, through developing a seder of tefillah and Torah like we're doing now, and that strengthens our emunah. And that's the idea, as we said, this gaber. This is a whole thing. It's a real thing. From the beginning of the day, the fight already begins. Just Am Yisrael from the beginning. The Mitzvahim came after us. When they were shooting their arrows, they weren't just arrows, physical arrows. It says in the Svarim they were arrows of apikosis trying to take us away from our emunah. So Hashem protected us with the anan, with the clouds of glory. Hashem's constantly protecting us from all this shmutz that's trying to come and inject into us all these false beliefs. And Hashem's protecting us again and again and again. And Be'ez Hashem, we should be zocher to strengthen our emunah and to have moments of greatness where we can deal with all this stuff. And when we're in a more smaller time, to also strengthen our emunah and be there with our emunah, to home in on the truth of Hashem Echad, and we're one with Him, and He's given us His holy neshama, and we have the ability to overcome the Yetzer Hara. That's the whole idea. The halach is that Hashem, it wouldn't give you halach if you couldn't do it. So you have the power to mizgaber on it, and to strengthen your emunah. It's there, it's within us, it's within our grasp, and we just have to constantly strengthen it. Amen, v'amen.